What is going on, everybody? You know how we do. We're a little bit late, but I apologize. I had to eat my dinner first before I came up here. Wifey fried some chicken, some greens, some bacon cheese fries, and some mumbo sauce on them, man. I had to tear that up first before I came up here. Oh, man. But we got a show for you guys. Let me say what's up to everybody. Of course, we got Chris from Catfish Clothing up here. And we got Dan from Green Machine Outdoors as well. They both representing the James River. But let's do some shout outs, see who we got up in this house. Bob is in the house. What's up, champ? He says, Yo, Haz, I'm finally first. So when is the new song coming out? Well, I haven't even recorded a new song yet, but I will when I come back from CatCon. I've been super busy. All these weeks leading up to. I haven't even had time to, but I definitely will. Freddie, what's up, champ? Ray Smith is in the house. Mac Fishing, Chucky, Anetta Morgan, Six Finger Slingers in the house. What's going on? Appreciate you guys popping up in here. CVA is in the house. Judy Booty, what's going on, champ? I ain't seen you in a while. The Long Care Novus is in the house. What is up? And we got Fishing for Whiskers is in the house. Nancy Drew says, "You sing too?" Not really. I'm not that talented. I try to carry a little tune, but I need some more auto tune. David Smith is in the house. What's going on? Grace Family Fishing. David Frazier. His next song is Bex will catch a 70-pound fish before. I'm not even going to finish reading the rest of that comment. Justin Greer's in the house. What's going on? Terry Stanfield, what's up, champ? We got 30 awesome people already in the house, and I appreciate you guys coming up in here. Catfish and Crappie, what's going on, Mark? Appreciate you guys coming in here. The premise behind the show actually changed up. I'm still gonna cover a few updates. Of course, we have the meet and greet May 28th, and it's gonna be at Haynes Point in Washington, D.C. What's going on? John Euler is in the house. Joy is in the house. What's going on? Appreciate you guys popping in here. We almost finalized the deal for a hotel over by the airport, 20 rooms. I think it's like 120 a night. Brian just have to shoot the contract information over. As soon as we get that information out to you guys, I will post it up on the community tab so that you guys can book your rooms at a super discounted rate. Shout out to Brian. He was out on a date right now with his wife. So that's why he's not here, but he'll pop in when he gets freed up. The Carver family is in the house. Ernie the Hog Snatcher. What's going on, champ? Appreciate you popping in. Stay away from them glizzies. Them vegan glizzies. It was like Chris out on the smoke was throwing a whole lot of smoke one time. Potomac River Monsters. They was out there fishing, and he was out there with his girlfriend. I think it was right before Valentine's Day. And he had some vegan glizzies on an eggplant bun. And, needless to say, the next day he wakes up with the stomach ache, with a stomach bug. He's in the hospital, not feeling good, but he's feeling better now. Got to stay away from him. Yes, Phil did catch a 77-pounder on. I saw the pictures of it. Man, that section of the river is top notch. That's why I fish it so much. I love that section of the river. There is some pigs up in there, and they starting to move back up in there. As the water temps warm up, these fish gonna be moving back up river. But what's going on, Chris? How's your day going? What you been doing today?
Doing good. Doing a little shopping. Getting ready for CatCon 2022, Louisville, Kentucky.
Can't wait. The countdown. We're less than 7 days away, guys. Can you believe it? I remember last year, it's like can't wait till next year, the one in person, and being a part of the virtual one and counting down the days. And now we're less than 7 away. I cannot wait. What about you, Dan? What you been up to today?
I've been working on the computer most of the day, trying to get some video stuff in line, get some stuff edited, trying to work through the stockpile of film.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yeah, film. I still got to up. First of all, the process of getting it from the GoPro onto the computer takes a while. Like it takes probably like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, depending on how much footage I got. Each time I want to offload the camera, it definitely takes a while. Kimberly is in the house. Creel, what's going on, champ? The brother from Louisiana is in the house. Appreciate you popping in. Scott Swift, Lynn is in the house. But the main topic that we want to talk about today is how to catch more fish. In catfishing, I was semi new to it. Didn't do a lot of catfishing until last year. And then that's when I went all in on catfishing and ended up catching a lot of fish. So I'm at the perspective of a new angler out there doing it just like some of you guys are new to catfishing, trying to figure out what to do, what works, how to do it, and the best techniques. So I'm here to share my knowledge from my experience and my view. Of course, we got Chris over here who's been fishing since he could walk, and has done a lot. Yep, since he was in diapers, and has done a lot of catfishing on the tournament scene too as well. So he can share his perspective. Then you got Dan right here, who is also new on the scene, but he has been killing it. He's been slaying it. And we're gonna cover all different perspectives. You're gonna get the bank perspective, you're gonna get the boat perspective, and you're gonna get the kayak perspective too as well for anybody that's interested in jumping into the kayak fishing. So you guys can feel free to ask questions. We will get to them. Don't worry, I will get to all the questions as much as possible. But the first thing that a lot of people say when it comes to catching more fish is time on the water. That's like one of the most popular, most important things that people say, and it's true. The more times you're out there on the water, you will catch more fish. And the more time you spend out there on the water, you learn patterns and learn where to go and where not to go. Some spots, like a spot that is pretty famous in DC, it's the Tidal Basin. Everybody loves to fish there, out of conveniency, but it is my worst spot to go fishing at. I hate it with a passion, but everybody loves it. And I know it's family friendly. It's close to, probably about 8 miles of shoreline, all on the island. You park, you're fishing, you're right there. So it's very easy access. So I know why people do it. But it's definitely not one of the best areas to go fishing. But that just comes with experience, spending time on the water and learning your bodies of water to catch more fish. So that was one thing that I learned this year, because my first year into fishing, I would go to the popular spots. I would go to the Haynes Point. I would go to the Tidal Basin. I would go to, Fletcher's. I would go to, Thompson's Boathouse. Those of you that don't know, those are just very popular, fishing spots, fishing areas. And Creel is 100% correct. The best fishing spots are the hardest ones to get to, especially from the bank. All the spots that I go to, they're at least a 5 to 10 minute, 15-minute walk to get to. Some of them you can bring your wagon. Some of them you can't bring your wagon. Some of them they're the spots that nobody wants to go to, but I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna definitely put the time and effort into it, because I want to catch. I want to have the best productive day that I can have. If I'm gonna go out there and fish one day a week, I want that one day to be, I want it to produce. I want to make sure I'm catching fish. We do this live streaming, so obviously, you can't, predict if you're gonna catch them on the live, but I want to give you guys the best chance of seeing some fish. So I go to the best spots, which they aren't always the easiest. Chris.
Yes, sir.
Well, you didn't always start off on the boat. Do you want to talk about your experience as a bank fisherman and learning your journey into it, or has it been so long since you've done it?
Well, it's probably been My catfishing started. My grandfather got me into it when I was probably 6 years old. We live on a farm. We've always lived on farms. We had our own ponds, and we go. And I spent a lot of my life as a little kid out catching bluegills and bait fish like that. And one day, my grandfather comes over and puts some worms on a hook and throws it in the pond, and we caught a channel cat. And from that moment, I was like hooked. We got a fish. I didn't know anything about catfish, but we had this fish with whiskers and no scales. And he had spots, and we got him. And he starts croaking, and I just instantly fell in love with him. But I took most of my life all the way up until my high school years. We fished the river some. We bank fished, but we mostly fished ponds for catfish. But then I became a bass angler. We were doing a lot of bass tournaments, and in the wintertime we didn't have anything to do. Hunting season was over. We weren't bass fishing, but we always heard about these monster catfish on the James. Now this is in 2000, the late 90s, early 2000s, and we were just overly excited about these monster catfish that we were hearing about, but nobody would, we never saw them. And it wasn't, we didn't have, they weren't on Facebook. There wasn't Facebook. There was, the internet was relatively new at that time. There wasn't a lot of information out there, but long story short, in around 1990, 2000, we decided to go on a charter, and we went on a catfishing trip. And it was, I think it was like 15 degrees that day was the high. It was freezing cold. And we were guys, and we were tough, and we were going to stick through it. We were going to fish the whole day. And we caught a bunch of big catfish. And that was the turning point for me. I literally came home and I sold my bass boat and I bought a Carolina skiff. And I just jumped in head first. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. I knew a couple of spots. Like what you were talking about, we call them now. We call them community holes. We knew some community holes, and we went out and we started catching a few fish, and the rest is history. But my life, it started mostly pond fishing, a little bit of river fishing. I happen to live right, just a couple miles from the James River. And there's not a lot of bank places, but we would go there in the summertime and light a campfire and kind of hang out. But we never really caught a whole lot, not like what we're catching today. But we didn't know what to use. We were using chicken livers, and we used to talk about listen for the second splash, because you hear the weight hit, and then if your chicken liver wasn't on there right, you hear it hit again. So those are the days we weren't using anything like we're using now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can 100% agree with you, because I know the first time somebody asked what baits do you use for catfishing, and chicken liver was something like, I just started fishing, like 3 years ago. But when you hear about catfishing, like that was just passed down, chicken liver. And I didn't know, I put the chicken liver on the hook and I'm casting it out and it's flying off. And I'm like, man, how the heck do you get this thing to even stay on?
We had all these recipes, we had all these recipes that people were passing down, where you had to crack an egg and you let it sit out and it just got all nasty. I mean, thinking back on it, I laugh because it was silly, but we went through all this process, and all we really needed was a couple bluegills. We would have been fine. But
you hear about all different types of chum baits and all this weird exotic stuff. But I mean, the best thing you can use for catfishing is whatever's in your water, whatever bait fish are in your water, whether it's bluegills, shad, if crappie is a fish that you could use in your area, or whatever bait fish you got, those are the best ones. In our area, of course, we have gizzard shad. We're all the same on that one. Certain times of year, bluegill will work too as well. We have white perch too on the Potomac River. That's not one of my favorite baits to use. I don't really have much luck. It has a season. And eel, that's one of my favorite go-to baits. But of course, you can chicken works, chicken thighs work. You have all these different flavors: strawberry, Jello, Kool-Aid, garlic, everything like that. You can just go through and experiment and try. The only way you're gonna know if it works in your waters is if you take it out there and you experiment with it and you try it out. Clam snouts better than worms. Yeah, cotton balls with cornbread. That's the first I ever heard that one. But yeah, worms, that's of course, going fishing, learning growing up. Worms are always available. You always, dig up a worm and throw that on the hook. And you just upsize from there, catch your bait, then cut that up and put that on the hook and see what you catch, and to catch a bigger fish. All of us, we're pretty much, primarily river fishermen. And there's a big difference between fishing a river and fishing a lake. I know lakes, they're a lot more pressured, especially when in the sense of, bass fishing and, crappie fishing and in that sense. But same with catfishing too as well. They're harder to find and harder to navigate. I don't really have much experience, catfishing on lakes other than like small lakes and ponds that you just bang fish out of. But what's his name? Uncle Lou. He put a very good comment above that stated that Navionics, Google Maps are your best friends, not just boat fishermen, but even more for your bank fishermen. That way, you're going to a good spot that has, the variables that you're looking for. You're looking for, deep drop off. You're looking for flats, coming off of those drop offs. You're looking for structure. You're looking for wind dikes. You're looking for, you're looking for deep holes. You're looking for pockets. You're looking for stuff that catfish like to hang out in. And once you figure out those areas, then you will increase, your trips of going out and catching fish instead of just going out and really just casting anywhere, fishing anywhere. Because there's spots that you go to where on the Potomac River even, it's such a great fishing, but there's places you can go where you will not catch a fish or you'll catch, very seldom, And then there's spots you can go to and you can catch 40 fish from the bank and you can tear them up. And it's going to be pretty consistent. You may not get 40, but the next day you go back, you're going to get 10, you're going to get 12. It's going to be pretty consistent bite if you keep going back to the same spots. Dan,
yeah,
when you started getting into your fishing, did you progress from the lakes and ponds and then get into bank fishing as well, and then get out into the boat or kayak? Or how was your progression?
It was kind of different. Growing up, I'd fished the lakes and stuff, but we grew up with a boat, so we'd fish Lake Erie a little bit, and then some stuff near the Thousand Islands, mostly bass, northern pike, stuff like that. A lot of bluegill and bait fish. And then I moved down here to Richmond, and I ended up living. I could walk to the James River right now, but it's not the James River everybody thinks about. This is the rapid section. Flatheads are more predominant up here, but you can't get a boat in. So I actually picked up a kayak pretty quickly to try and get out on the water up here. And it was actually just to cruise around pretty much. I picked up a pedal kayak, and then I said, I'll bring a rod with me one day, and started catching some bluegill and bass and stuff. And then I started researching a little bit more because I heard about, I think it was one time I was out there bass fishing, and I hooked something that I just couldn't believe it was a bass. It had to be something else. So I started researching and found out about the blue cats and started going downriver a little bit more, and then just kind of progressed from there. It took me probably 3 or 4 months to realize I had to catch some good fresh bait. I was going out there with store-bought frozen bait that who knows when it was caught or when it was froze or anything. And, you catch something here and there, but the more consistency showed up when I started to learn how to catch my own bait and keep it fresh and go from there.
Absolutely. Going through the progressions, learning how to do it. I know, like I said, when I started off catfishing, I was out there with eel and some bluegill. I mean, not eel, I'm sorry. I had liver and bluegill. And my first 6 or 7 trips, I didn't have success. I wasn't tearing them up. I wasn't catching them. But, we have this thing called YouTube, and it teaches you a lot. And you can also go and ask people. So what did I do? I went and asked Chunky Cats. He was out there fishing. I left a comment on his video, and he replied, he was like white perch. an eel. So what do? I go find me some white perch. I go find me some eel, and I go out there, and then I've been tearing them up ever since. Like that was the difference, was just using the right bait. Because sometimes you're in the right area, but you don't have the right baits. You're not using you don't have the right presentations. And that's something I also want to talk about too. Your presentations. What types of rigs are you guys using? Now when it comes to the rod and reel, you can use anything. Like you can go out there with an ugly stick, spinning, whatever your basic setup is, you can go out there and you can catch them. Now, if you're starting to talking, about getting into the tournament scene and you want to consistently catch 50s, 60s, and 70s, you're going to want to ride with a little more backbone. It's going to give you a little more horse, and a reel with a little more drag on it. But as far as your setups, what are you guys using for your main line? What are you using for your leader line, and what are you what type of rig are you guys using? Chris, you can go ahead first and answer.
As far as our main line, we're just running. It depends on a lot of things, but primarily we're going to be running 40-pound mono on our main. But if I'm fishing really deep and fast current, then I'm going to run some braid. And then the only reason I do that because I don't know if a lot of people realize this, but it takes less weight to hold the braid down than it does mono. So in the current, it can in deep water fishing, it can help you a lot. And then for my leader, I'm using 80-pound. I'm using 80-pound mono. I can't think of what the brand is at the moment, but yeah, 40-80. That's pretty much what we run.
40 and 80, and you're pretty much all circle hooks, or do you have a time when you go
circle
back?
hooks? Yeah. So I started fishing with like Gamakatsu 7/0 and 8/0 circle hooks, and then as the fish I was targeting got bigger, and really all I'm really focused in is 50 pounds plus. Now we run 12/0 hooks, so pretty much that's all we run. And then as far as weights, if we're going to use we'll use sinkers, just a regular bottom rig, or with sinker slides, or or 3-ways, and we generally run 12 to 16 ounce weights.
That's heavy current that you're fishing it out there on the James River.
So we're fishing the James, and to kind of give you an idea, anywhere from between the Richmond and Williamsburg. That's kind of our area that we fish, which it's a lot of water. It's probably 50 miles of water, but it's tidal. So depending on the moon phase and rain and all that sorts of things, we could have 4-mile-an-hour current. But since it is tidal, it'll drop down. Of course, it stops and reverses, but at times the current is ripping pretty good. So we're fishing a boat, and we're going to fish about 10 rods, and we've got them fanned out. So always 16s on the outside, and then I'll taper into 12s in the middle.
Gotcha. That's because you want the 16s to hold on the outside. You don't want them swinging back.
Yeah.
You want them to stay.
Yeah. Now there is a couple little tricks that we use. Sometimes we do let them drag, and I might throw some. It depending on the time of the year and which fish, how active things are. I will throw some lighter weights on the outside, and they have a tendency to kind of drag back around, and we'll reel them up and do it again. And you'll pick a lot of fish up like that sometimes, depending on the year, time of the year.
Yeah. What about you, Dan? What are you pretty much using as your primary setups?
40-pound mono, and then 80 to 100-pound leader line. Pretty much slime line on everything. When I'm in the kayak, I go 100-pound for sure. Now that I've been doing a lot more boat fishing, I kind of backed off a little bit, but I don't go quite down to 50. I used to run 50, but I don't really change out my rigs as much as I should. So that 100-pound and 80-pound kind of keeps me better over a long period of time. When I got a couple nicks in there, I can trust it a little bit more. But I've been playing around a little bit more with braid, especially since I've got some like bumping rods and things like that, and some smaller reels I'm trying to work with. So playing around a little bit with that. And it really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm in the kayak, I'm trying to drift So a lot of times I'll run Carolina rigs, sometimes some dragging rigs as well, usually 2 of each. If I'm in the boat, it's a lot like Chris was saying, heavy weights on the outside with heavy rods, and then medium heavy rods with lighter weights, and then sometimes Carolinas, sometimes 8-ounce weights right back behind the outboard. And that also depends if I'm upriver or downriver. If I'm downriver, heavier weights, faster current. If I'm upriver, it's usually not quite as heavy, so 8s and 10s are usually better up there, or enough most of the time.
I know, like me personally, I went through a progression. When I first started out, I was using braid. I used 50-pound braid as my main line, and I had 40-pound mono as my leader line. And from the bank, pretty much that was cool. I would use a 3-way swivel setup, which I have one right here, but this one's kind of a little more advanced. But when I found out when I started fishing out of the boat, I started breaking off more. So that's when I started jumping up to that 80-pound leader line. I'm sorry, and also got away from that braid because when you're anchored up, in the boat or the kayak, and you're trying to break off a 50-pound line, it is not easy. You're pulling your boat off an anchor, or you're flipping your kayak trying to break that line off. So that's when I moved down to 30-pound mono. I use 30-pound mono on everything for my main line, and then 80-pound for my leader. And this is pretty much the setup that I use. I have 3-way swivel. Hold on, let me blow this up so you guys can feel better. Here we go. You got 3-way swivel. I use polymer knot that's tied to the one right here. This one right here goes to your main line, and then I clip. I always clip my weights. That's why I've always done it. This year I will see. There's times when this works good, and there's times when it's better to have a line. Like I know Chris, they run a leader line for their lead as well. And then I have it to a spook. I run it to a spook. And there's times when this is good and when it's not good. When it's not good is when it's in current, because this thing right here, if it's in current, it can get wrapped up around your main line, and then it's just going to mess you all up. So it depends on how fast your current is flowing. If you got current, the current's going to keep your bait floating off the bottom. But like on the Potomac River, where we have, half a mile of current, that's why I like to use a spook just to float my baits up off the bottom. Now, you don't have to get, this, extravagant and expensive. You can go with the styrofoam ones. But I just find that after you catch like 3 or 4 fish on them, they get tore up and they pop off, and then you got to redo your whole rig. So that's why I just keep, hook on there. And this is pretty much, been catching all my fish, throughout the whole time. I go from coin sinkers from the bank. In the kayak, I use cannonballs. I like cannonballs for suspending. Like there's different times when you use different weights, and that's when I would say I will change up and add a leader line. Instead of this clip right here, I would add another line for when I'm dragging. That way my bait's higher, my hook is higher up off of the bottom, and I'm getting snagged up less. That's one thing that I am gonna do this year as well. Stan is in the house. What's going on, Stan, the mayor?
What's up, Paz? I've been listening. You've been saying all the right things. That leader line, that's important. When you're in river with current, use that 3-way rig where you got that leader line going down and you're keeping your bait up. That's in the feed zone. That's in the strike zone. We use that a lot. Tidal weights, Brad Kahlo with those, one of the best, most universal weights I've seen it's called a flat bank seeker that Tidal Weights makes. Check out Brad Caudle, his Facebook link. Everybody knows Tidal Weights out there. But those flat bank sinkers are amazing for that with that 3-way rig. They work from the bank. They work from the boat. They work suspended. So definitely. But, yeah, that 3-way rig, it's tough to beat.
Yeah. And in heavy current, that's something that they would like. I use coin sinkers. We don't really have heavy current. But what do you guys use? You guys use those flat bank sinkers? I think I've seen you use those a lot, Chris. Is that like your main, your pretty much go to?
That's all I use. We want wherever we cast, we want the bait to stay. So
yeah,
of coin sinkers, flat sinkers, anything with a big flat surface. That's the main thing. The bigger, the flatter surface gets stuck. We get a little bit of surface area down there on the bottom. That's what's going to help us.
Absolutely. Brad, he will be on Muskrat Adventure to talk everything sinkers. Is that this Tuesday? I did see that thumbnail. I believe it's this Tuesday. So make sure you guys go check that out on Muskrat Adventure Show. Brad Cottle, he will be there talking about everything sinkers. Daryl's in the house. What's going on, Daryl? Trophy Seekers. And, I done missed the boom. This Dominic's second boom. He did drop a $10 one earlier. We were just in discussion, so we didn't get to talk about it much. But he said, do I really need to say why I sent this?
Dominic, thank you. I see the twos. Y'all never know. Listen, y'all don't know what that means to me. With the twos, I really appreciate it. I'm Haz is my bro. We do a lot of this, and I see the twos. That I really appreciate that. That means it means the world to me. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. So now we we've been going over pretty much the gear, and it's pretty much all the same. See, all of us, we fish different types of bars. Fish from a boat, fish from the bank, fish from the kayak. They're all pretty much the same. There may be a little bit more tweaks. I mean, we all use the same knots, snell your hooks and stuff like that. Now let's talk about location.
I don't know if it was talked about though. We were talking about the snell. If you're using a circle hooks were designed for a snell knot. Like if you're just tying off at the top of that snell hook with like a polymer or whatever kind of knot, and it's just attached to just the eye of that hook, you're really taking away the benefit of the circle hook. So yeah, there you go. Just like that. If you're using a circle hook, learn to tie a snell. It's got to be tied. See how that all the loops are around the shank of the hook. That's what gives the benefit. That's what turns that hook into the corner of the fish's mouth. If you're just tying it to the eye, you're not getting the full benefit of that of the circle hook. I just wanted to point that out. I see that a lot. I see a lot of those questions. How do you tie on a circle hook?
Daryl, you are more than welcome to come up here and have some more discussion. I have no problem with that. I can't
believe this guy. That's why I'm late. I was in discussion with this guy right down here. This guy, he's trying to say that women can't fish. I can't believe the things that this guy right down below me was saying. It was, me, I'm the people's fisherman. I try to stick up for the people, and this guy, he was just nuts with the stuff he was saying. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Apparently he's never seen Courtney on the water.
That's exactly right. Exactly right, Dan.
Daryl, I'll put the link out there for you. Now, this isn't just for anybody to pop up here. I don't have, access to everybody, and this was kind of some last minute stuff I was putting together. But if you are, if you pop up in backstage and you're definitely well respected, and I know you get on fish and you can answer these questions, I'll be more than happy to have you come up here and answer questions and talk about your experience as well too.
Chris, I just got one question. That hat that Haz is wearing, that new Catfish look, that is on fire. That's going to be at CatCon?
Yes, sir. And actually, in fact, we're gonna have a couple of our embroidery machines there. We'll be making them. Yeah.
Sweet. So let me just blow this up.
We might be able to. Depending on our schedule, somebody can buy one and probably pick their colors if they want.
Oh my Lord! All right. Anybody out there in chat, if you weren't going to CatCon, that right there is reason to say, all right, change my mind. I am making it there. You get the Catfish clothing hat. You see what I'm wearing? When we caught that, Dan will tell you. Oh my Lord!
Here it comes. Here it comes. Now's your chance to kick him out.
I feel like it's Groundhog.
I'm getting ready.
Crazy. Did you steal my picture? I think my daughter stole my picture.
Yes.
Give me the damn back. Okay. There we. She did. She stole my picture. You see in that picture, we're wearing Catfish clothing hats right there with the 200. Man, my daughter, she done stole my pictures from me momentarily, but there they are. You see the Catfish Clothing Act. I can't guarantee that you're going to catch 222-pound fish wearing those Catfish Clothing hats. But hey, you know what? We've caught a bunch of big fish wearing Catfish clothing, and I'd probably say that there's been probably more big fish worn wearing Catfish clothing than any other brand out there. Just saying.
Well, we appreciate the love, Stan. It was a cool fish you caught, and I'm pretty sure it's because that hat was lucky when I gave it to you.
Yes.
But no, I mean, get back to the other thing. So a lot of people don't, and this isn't a pitch to sell anything. Believe me, that's not what I came on here for. But anytime if there's something that we don't have and they would like a special color, we print it. I mean, we'll embroider it in our shop. You just let us know and we'll take care of it.
Nope, do not start that. Do not start that. We don't want to start that, okay? We not want to start that. No fishing in hills. Nobody betting that. We don't want to do that. There was one thing that I wanted to say, guys, we didn't talk about that we didn't cover before we start moving into the other the aspects. Your rod holders. Those are very, very, very important too as well. Especially the way your design, a circle hook is designed. You know, you want that reel locked down so when that fish bends the rod over, well, by the time you get up, he's already hooked. And for that to happen, you want to have some very strong rod holders. I have had my rod holders get ripped and go flying, and I haven't lost one yet, luckily. But you definitely want to have a very good rod holder to protect your investment. Now, from the bank, Monster Rod Holder makes a great bank rod holder. Ram Diaz, he's made all mine. From the boat, of course, you have Monster Rod holders from the boat as well. You just want to have a very good, solid, rod holder, so that way it's not bending or flexion. Yeah, Snake Rivers from the bank. That's even very
as if you want to talk about that, even the Golden Whisker Award for Blooper of the Year. Oh man, there he is. The Blooper of the Year is the rod holder. Where Epic Catfish, his rod goes shot out of the boat because the rod holder gave up on him. Yeah. So
and I was one of those Scotty Mount rod holders,
Just saying, you get a big blue catfish, it needs to be a sturdy rod holder.
Yeah, and I knew I was like, I'm not putting those in my kayak. Those Scotty Mounts, I was like, I'm not doing it. There's plastic. The gears inside, the teeth are plastic. Especially on these suspended down rods, these fish hit with incredible force, and I'm not having nothing get ripped out, So I was like, I ain't messing with it. What's going on, Daryl? Welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
All right.
Hello.
What's up, Haz? Thanks for letting
Hello, Daryl.
Absolutely. If you guys don't have Daryl's channel, make sure you go check him out. Go drop his channel link in the description. Everybody up here, Dan, Stan, Chris, if you guys can drop their channel links. Miss Becca's in the house. What's going on, Becca?
Hello, Becca.
So, Daryl, you fish the mighty Tennessee River. Do you want to talk about some of your, experiences that you've gone through? Maybe some of your trials and tribulations, some things that you learned that will help a new angler out. Fishing a mighty river like that.
Oh yeah, Stan, listen to this real close, okay? Because you need some. Those sturgeon fishermen need all the help they can get. How that works. So, we got this 1v1 coming up, so I thought I'd come up here and try to give Stan some pointers because he's always, he's always second place in it, never getting in first. So I thought, well, if I come in here and sort of told,
but that's because I share my information now. Unlike Daryl, who tries to keep all his stuff. Everything he knows, he's gonna try to give you some information. But I'm just saying, take it with a grain of salt because, we know how Daryl is. But that don't take my judgment for. Just listen for yourself and decide.
Stan, calm down. Get you little Canadian night crawlers, put on your hook, go over there and try to start catching a few sturgeon and listen to a general teach you how it's done, okay? Thanks for muted him. Hey guys, what you guys are talking about? Totally. good equipment helps out a lot. I mean, having the right equipment out there. Here we go. He's trying to take, man, jealousy. I know you're jealous, Stan. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, one of these days you'll be like me. You'll be able to catch
the people know who's winning the 1v1. I'm just saying, last year was 2021. One's not my year. 2022, that's the year of the twos, baby. I'm winning everything this year. 2-0-2-2.
Well, I don't know, Stan. They say 2022 was the year for Stan, but so far it's looking like 2021 he was the Iron Man. This year he's Mr. Glass. He's getting sick. He's falling down, cracking, fracturing some ribs. I don't know what's going on with Stan, man. Like, he was doing 48 hours from the bank last year. Now he can't even do 3 hours from the bank. I don't know.
They outlawed steroids, so he can't stay up as long.
Man, people, you hear this? With Daryl come on here, he does. He gets He gets one of the most liked, one of the most. We know who Daryl is. We all know Daryl. He's trophy seekers out there. He's trying to automatically say he's better than everybody else. I'm the people's champ. If you're out there fishing from the bank, look, whether you're using that $20 Walmart rod, whether you're using Uncle Lou's, you're using whatever, I'm there with you. That I am the representative of the people. I'm winning this 1v1 tournament for the people.
Would you just shut up 1 minute where somebody else could get a word in edgeways? Good Lord. You know full well when I entered the 1v1, people like Steve Douglas and Dieter Melhorn dropped out because they know my reputation precedes me. I will beat all you guys, the champion, Mr. Creole, all these folks. I'm tired of it. You guys want to get in there and hog up the camera, act like you know something. You don't know fish until you run into
Chris just perked up a little bit,
baby. It's all about how you fish, when you fish, where you fish.
Yeah, look, man, all the testosterone going on right here.
Hey, all I'm saying is, Daryl, I fished the James River. Green Machine Outdoors fished the James River. We got Chris fished the James River.
Not impressed.
What are you gonna do when the James River and these 50-inch blue catfish run wild on you? I'm just saying.
I'm going to catch a 52-inch. That's what's going to happen. Like I said, I hope you catch me first off, but I know you're too scared because what's going to happen is I'm going to beat you. You're going to come back to reality.
What's up, Becca? How you doing?
On the trailer, and you're going to co-host the rest of the tournament, and that's just the way it's going to be. As I'm sorry, I know he takes over everybody's channel, so I'm going to back out of here. Let you have your channel back. If you got
I apologize. Go ahead, Daryl. Kaz had you up here for a reason. I'm going to let you, the people know. The people are going to know. They'll still see in this how it's going, but we're just saying, go ahead. I apologize. I'm the man of the people. I'm going to let you speak so the people can hear what you got to say.
All right, I gotta get the fire extinguisher and put the smoke out. We gotta put the smoke out. You gotta hose these guys.
I think we need to shuffle them around a little bit.
One thing I want to say is, I think that's what it is. They're let's do this. Oh wait. I don't. Oh, now it's like Daryl's gonna be like, I'm above Stan. Let's do this.
Hey, Chris.
There you go.
Dan, Chris, I'm sorry that I had to do that, but it's every time Stan gets on the show, he's trying to take it over. You guys, you should have your say so also. Not this somebody Yankee guy comes in here and tries to act like he knows everything. When we know the fish are coming from the south, and we're gonna do it again, baby.
Wow. Buffalo Bills, baby.
All right. I'm going to let the show go on because that's just how I am. I'm the man of the people. The people want to hear the show. I'm going to let them. There you go. There you go. Brokeback Bob. Boom, 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 bam. $4.99. The Sturgeon War 2 stands out. Payment for the S word. Hey, it did. But I tell you what, 222-pound fish, it's going to wear any of us out. It's just going to happen. So
here we go, a catfish show, and we're talking about sturgeon again. What's my claim of fame? Big Stan is a sturgeon.
Man, if you guys want to learn how to talk smoke,
all right.
I'm confused.
You guys came to the right place. You gotta stop picking on my buddies. So let's keep it moving. Come on.
Chris, is it
I think that's what I'm gonna have to do.
Is it a sturgeon
I'm gonna
show?
have to.
That's all I'm asking. Because
I'm gonna have to put these
all right.
guys.
Hey, Has, you know what? Has, drop me off for a minute. Let Daryl. I'm gonna drop me right off stage. Let Daryl, because he's that insider. He's got all the whatever. I'm the people. I'm just a small guy. Bring me off stage. Let Daryl talk, and then when he's done, I'll come back up. This way, the show can go on. We'll just run it like that. Go ahead, Has. Drop me off stage.
I gotta have you guys off panel one second at a time. There we go.
Now
Let's
grown
cut down
men
a
can
little
talk.
bit of a-
Grown men can talk.
What's going on? Mama Has in the house. She's gonna be celebrating her birthday on 2/22/22. I gotta bring Stan back up here for that's a very, very, very important date. Right
much
there.
love for Mama Has. Much love for all the people out there. 2/22/22. We're gonna be doing a lot of things out there on February 22nd, 22. 2/22/22. The year of the stand. 2 stands. I'm just saying. But anyways, go ahead, Has.
All right, so Daryl, we know
Yes,
you can talk some smack, but let's talk. You're catching some fish, so let's tell. For those of you that don't know who Daryl is, let's tell a little bit about yourself and where you come from, what river you fish, and how long you've been fishing for.
I come from Georgia, Jasper, Georgia, which is in North Georgia. I've been fishing all my life, of course, and fished for catfish stuff, but I found this river called the Tennessee River, and man, came alive. And I've been fishing it for about 1.5 years, and all I do is fish it for trophy fish. I know people's heard me that. Watched YouTube, people like Joe Jellison and Catfish and all those guys fish the Tennessee River, and basically watch them and learn how to do it. And I would watch them just hours and hours of video of what they were using, how they were doing everything, and went up there and just basically saw what they were doing and started mimicking it and finding my own spots and places and became successful. I mean, just basically a lot of it's just, you're not going to go up there and fish it once a month and be successful. Just I go up there usually at least once a week, and you learn the river, learn their habits, and learn where they're at, follow them around. I mean, on the river, and I'm sure it's a lot the same way in the lake, but learning where they're at and finding them and then following them around and learning not to just become repetitious. That's what I tell people more than anything. Don't get hung up on going to the same spots all the time. It's I don't do that, and I know a lot of people fish a lot different from me. I fish a spot in the summertime. If I don't get a bite in about 20 minutes, I move. Wintertime, usually 30 to 40 minutes. But don't go out there and set up on the spot, throw 6 rods out, and not move because you don't want to pull the anchor, pull the lines, reel it in, get the bait, keeping everything from getting untangled or tangled up. Don't be that.
You must have been watching my show last night, Daryl, because I said that same exact thing last night. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you've heard me say it so many times. I'm sure you have. Good Lord. Paz, I thought you asked me to tell this stuff, but nope.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was trying to sit here quiet. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daryl. I'm sorry. I apologize. You are correct. It's your time. It's your time. I apologize.
Paz, can you mute him, please? Can you mute him? Just mute him, please. He's got to go right.
Let me say something. I want to say, you guys both have something in common. You guys caught, Stan. He's caught, the biggest fish, the most fish, and the smallest fish, and ended up, losing a tournament. And I believe you as well caught, 2 of the biggest fish in the tournament, and ended up not winning that tournament as well. Do you guys want to?
It was rigged.
You want to speak on that?
Yeah, it was rigged. I mean, it was. They know that I'm the greatest trophy fisherman out there, and they set the rules up to fail. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I've won tournaments. Stan, how many tournaments have you won? I've won a tournament. I mean, how many have you won, Stan? Mr. Second Place.
Hold on.
How many have you won? Second place.
As a matter of fact,
Chris said,
As a matter of fact, I won this tournament right here. I caught almost 40 fish from the bank to win this
That's not
6,500
wrong.
Abu Garcia right here.
I quit using kids' toys like that a long time ago. I mean, what?
Well, it was on an Uncle Lou rod. I might add it was on an Uncle Lou rod.
I'm talking about your reel. It's got what, a 12-pound ratio of brakes on it. I mean, you know.
Well, no, as a matter of fact, we use 30. Well, the line, the reel itself, you know, whatever.
Break,
but the line, we use 30-pound slime line.
Whatever with the reel. You heard that, didn't you? Oh, whatever.
Well, even with this kid's reel right here, with this 30-pound slime line, we can catch 222-pound fish with 30-pound slime. I'm just saying.
Catfish.
30-pound test, 222-pound fish.
All right, this is what we're going to do. Boop, boop. I'm going to mute both of them, and we're going to get on with the show because they will be going back and forth all day long. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to keep them on mute. I'm going to ask one at a time. I'm going to ask the other one. But let's get back to learning how to fish, guys. So we have covered, the tools that you're going to be using. Now let's talk about where you're going to fish and why you're going to fish there. I'll start off as a bank fisherman, and we'll cover the bank aspect. And we'll talk about winter right now because that's one thing. I've been catching, a lot of, decent sized fish from the bank in the wintertime. And I've been getting a lot of questions asked. How are you catching them? Where are you going? Are you fishing deep? And I'm fishing the opposite. I'm not fishing deep at all. I did go fish deep in my most recent live stream, which was Wednesday. But even in the boat with Brian, the last 2 Wednesdays, I've been fishing shallow. All the big fish I've been catching from the bank over the last month have all been caught in about 15 to 18 feet of water. One thing I say is when you're bank fishing, you want to have the best opportunity to catch fish. And if in the wintertime, you're going to be fishing for fish that aren't active. There probably is fish down there, but majority of them, they're not active. They're not moving around. They have no interest in eating or feeding or interest in your baits. So what I like to do is I like to go find shallow flats outside of these deep holes and these deep ledges and wait for those active fish to come to me. And then I'll have a more productive bite and catch more fish. And that's been working for me. I do that. I did that when I caught my 62 last winter, learning patterns, from last winter and using that to transition over to this winter. That's that putting that time on the water, as well as also documenting where you're catching these fish at the time of year so that next year it comes around, you're learning like, all right, I got a pattern now. Now I can go back to these same spots and see if they work. And if they're working again, now you're building the patterns and you're learning the transitions from fish. So I like to fish shallow and wait for those active fish to come to me. It's going to give me, a lot better bite. Now that's from the bank in the wintertime. In summertime, I'm pretty much the same way. I mean, the fish they're more active in the D2 as well. You can go find them, you can catch them. But I like to fish in, I wouldn't say the deepest water, but I like to fish outside of that. I like to go find deep water and then fish right outside of those deep waters. Chris, what about you? What are you looking for in the wintertime, since we're, in the wintertime right now? What are you looking for mainly when you're going out there fishing?
So for me, it's going to depend in the wintertime. Obviously, it's going to depend on the weather conditions for the day. If it's a bright sunny day, I might start off deeper, but if it's a bright sunny day, then I'm going to spend a lot of my time in the shallows. I'm going to fish, in 10 feet or less. And I don't have a problem fishing in 2 feet of water. That's not a problem at all. You catch a lot of big fish in a couple foot. But really, it's going to kind of depend on the day. If it's an overcast day, then maybe I'm going to spend more of my time in the deeper water. But whatever I do, and that's one of the things that I guess would be more important. Whatever I do first is going to dictate what I do next. So what that means is wherever we go first, if we start catching fish where we are, then we're going to kind of focus on that area. But if we're not catching fish there, then we're going to make a complete transition from the complete opposite of what we're doing, and and then kind of start breaking it down based on what's happening. So there's not a set plan. What am I going to do on this particular day? But the way I start my day is going to dictate how I finish my day.
Yeah.
And that's and you got to let the fish tell you what's happening. Now that's not going to mean you're going to catch the biggest fish, but at least it's going to put you in a target zone of where the fish are feeding or where they're active, and then you can take all everything that's happened, and then apply that to the rest of the river for the remainder of the day. Now it will change. I mean, if you go, it's changing constantly, but and so you have to, on an 8-hour tournament, you kind of have to chase what's going on. But we kind of start our day out one way, and then we either stick with that plan if it's working, or we have to slowly deviate.
Dan, what about you? What are you looking for when you're going out there fishing? Let's say kayak, since he's covered the boat, I've covered the bank. Let's say you're fishing in a kayak. What are you going for? What are you targeting? What are you looking for?
So being on the water and the kayak's nice because you can explore a little bit, but you're also very limited. So you've got to choose your ramp and kind of trust what you think is going to happen. So really big decisions based on, what the tide's doing and what the weather's doing. I've really got to look into that and then hope for the best. At some point you can search around a little bit, but you're probably limited to about 5 miles from the ramp in any direction. And if that's not working, then you got to pull up and move somewhere else. You can't really run too much. So, looking for that, looking for bait, trying to set up on there. Cover a lot of water is one thing I like to do. So instead of finding a spot, sticking to it and hoping for the best, just kind of working through a spot where I think fish might also be working through.
I like the question, what month is best for big fish? Now, traditionally, a lot of people think night fishing, summertime catfishing, but I prefer November, December, January, February. That is my favorite time to go catfish.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love, like I said, the wintertime. Now, last year, every month was my favorite month because I'm just documenting and learning, building patterns and all that. But my PBs have come consistently in January. January has been my favorite month because that's when I'm catching the big, and this is from the bank, that we're catching, these big monster fish. I love, fishing in the wintertime. Now it's the slowest bite. You're gonna have days when you go out there, you're not catching anything, or you can't figure out the bite, you can't figure out anything. It's gonna piss you off. You're like, man, forget this, it's too cold, but just tough it out, ride it out and keep trying. And the good thing about like fishing where we fish at on the Potomac River, there's a lot of anglers. That's the one thing I like. I got a database now where I see who's fishing where, are they catching, and I use all of that to my tool now. I use all that to my database. So I know, all right, they weren't catching there, they weren't catching there, they weren't catching there. So now I'm just going to go over here. And they are telling me, where I'm going to go because I'm just trying to find the fish. So it's process of elimination sometimes when you're fishing spots too as well. Stan, what about you? What is your favorite time of year to go fishing?
As I totally agree with you, man. You got to listen to the people, and if you listen to the people, unlike our friend Daryl over there, who is too big to listen to everybody out there, but you listen to what they're saying. You take all that advice in. Woo! How you doing, little man? You take all the advice in. Love little man out there. Big shout out. Woo, little Haz. He's going to be the one taking this next generation out there. Sorry, I had to. You got an awesome little man like that out there. Look at him popping up the twos for 2 stands. But that's what we all do out there. A lot of us out there on the bank. Freddie and Nina came up here from the bank fishing. Boom, boom, boom. What do we do in the James River? 2 PBs, a Boom, boom, boom. That's right, little man. A 22-pounder and a 46-pounder from the bank. But you listen to what's going on during that day. You let the fish, let the people. YouTube is an awesome tool. If you watch a lot of YouTube lives, you listen to a lot of people. You can hear, they'll say what the temperatures are, what the things are that's happening, and they're fishing shallow or deep. And you can really see what happens during these different weather conditions, during these different temperatures. And, I tell Dan a lot, like, I love it when I'm wrong. Because when I'm fishing with Dan at stand 3 and I'm wrong, you know what that means? That means we're catching fish. So I don't mind being wrong, because that means I'm learning. I've been fishing 50 years, and I'm not too big. Unlike Daryl, I'm not too big to admit that I like being wrong. And when I'm wrong, I'm catching more fish. So, big shout out to Dan, to Chris, to you, Haz, and even Daryl. Like, he catches some big fish, and we were agreeing on a lot of the things. I think for different reasons, but it's all about catfish. It's all about telling everybody how to get that next big fish, except for Daryl. But the rest of us are trying to teach everybody, the people out there, the ones that we love, how to catch the next fish. I agree. Like, you let the fish tell you what they're doing on them nice days. You go shallow. And I was old school. Like, never thought, old school was you go to the deepest hole, you throw baits out in the deepest hole. Colder water, you go deeper. Warmer water, you go shallow. And sometimes you look at Stan 3 and Dan last Wednesday on the water, they caught a bunch of fish out there in 2 feet of water, Dan?
6 inches of water. We were stuck in
crazy. And there's catfish out there feeding. And if they're up shallow, this is just a little hint, that people like Daryl over there, Daryl's not going to share this with you, but we will. If they're up shallow, that means they're eating, they're feeding. That's where you want to be. Just saying.
So, we were so shallow we couldn't get the net under them.
You made a comment where you said in the wintertime, sometimes you have days that are really hard to catch fish, and you have other days where you catch a lot. So, question for you guys: do you know why that is?
Feeding and not feeding. The fish they're not active. They're not hungry. They're not feeding. Because they're not constantly eating.
So in the wintertime, we have we've got a lot of big peaks and valleys. Temperature changes.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of weather condition changes. We don't have consistent days of weather. So to get those fish on a real good bite, you need several days of consistency. And when you have those high peaks and high valleys, they're kind of like like us. They kind of shut down a little bit. So when you go target fish, you want to kind of, if you're going to be pleasure fishing, you want to sort of target those days that have had consistent weathers and consistent wind.
Yeah, and
Uncle Jeep's comment right there says, "I don't let any fish tell me what to do. I tell them get in that deep fry, file yourself first."
And what Chris just said, whether you're old school, new school, you hear old generation, even Epic's talking about, fish like to be comfortable. When they're comfortable, that's when they're feeding. Now look at yourself. If you're freezing, you're doing this, you're not eating. When they are comfortable and they've got that set pattern, it's a lot. They're going to more actively feed. But when they're, everything's changing, the pattern's changing, the pressure, the this, the that, the moon phase, all that other kind of garbage that gets involved with it, when that's all constantly changing, that's when they're less active, we'll say.
Yeah, and I will say that I agree with, Chris, definitely on that fluctuation, that variables in temperature. You have a hot during the day and then really cold at night. Just 3 weeks ago, the surface temperature on the Potomac River was 31 degrees. And then you fast forward to 3 days ago when Chunky was out there, surface temps were 50 degrees. That's a huge fluctuation. In the summertime, you don't get that fluctuation. In springtime and the fall, you don't get that huge fluctuation in a short period of time like that. So that gets those fish active, and that can also, confuse them. And that day that Chunky did, it was 50 degrees. He wasn't having success in the shallows like we had been for the 2 weeks prior. So
I know.
You just have to go.
I know Daryl likes to take a lot of credit for things, but bam, that's what I'd like to. I'm talking about the people out there. If you could highlight No Real Loss, Bex, she has learned. She didn't have like Daryl had a lot of his relatives and his ancestors been fishing for years and years and telling them where to go and doing. She didn't have a lot of that, so she learned a lot of it from those people like us that are on the internet, unlike Daryl, sharing this information. And she said, in the winter, I read that if the air temperature is warmer than the water, you fish shallow. It makes sense. The sun's coming down. Shallow water is going to heat up quicker. The bait's going to move up there. The fish are going to move up there to feed. And she didn't learn that. It wasn't fed to her, like Daryl. But she learned that from researching and things. And you should fish when it's cooler, when it's that cold front coming in. Boom, the fish are going to move deeper. And that's when you should fish deeper. Big shout out to Bex. She's just no, I'm not putting you in the middle. I'm just giving you a big, Bex, big shout out to you. You've learned from listening to everybody up here. I'm the people's champion. I try to fight for the people, and that's big shout out to you. I appreciate you putting that out there. Thank you.
Stan, we love you, but you're going to turn us into a 4-hour show.
all I heard was Daryl. Oh my God!
You know what?
The shots fired, Daryl.
Is my microphone on?
Let's give Daryl.
Yes, your microphone is on. Let's give Daryl the stage. So you are fishing.
Something? Look, here's
ahead.
what I hear when I hear Stan. Yep, and probably a lot of you guys aren't old enough to remember Charlie Brown, but I hear Charlie Brown's teacher. All I hear is wah 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 wah. I mean, good Lord. It's the same sound over and over, and it just gets on your nerves. You just want to tell, please mute him. Everything he's saying, he's old school. He's old school. He used to do this, he used to do that. Yeah, until about a year ago when my videos started coming out, and he started watching them, and he learned really how it was done. Just admit it, Stan. You're a has-been. You're a nobody. You're a wannabe. I'm the new stuff coming on. I'm the new school. I'm the guy that's out there showing you day in and day out. Watch the videos. They don't lie how it's done, and these people know that. They know a fraud when they see one that says the same thing over and over. And his biggest accolade is a sturgeon. That's it. Now, if you're through, let the grown-ups talk, okay?
Go ahead. I'm listening.
All right, so Daryl.
Yes, sir.
You fishing the furthest south out of all of us. What is it like fishing in the wintertime? Does the water temps, the cooling waters, does it have the same effect, as it does as everywhere else?
I'm just like you guys. I love the wintertime. I'd rather fish the wintertime as anything. I've caught more of my big fish in wintertime than any time. I put out about 2 weeks ago my best of video that I'd been on. February the 4th was my 1 year anniversary for doing YouTube, and we put out 21 fish that were caught over 30 pounds in a 1 year period, and I mean 90% of them were caught from say November or really December. Well, yeah, from December to probably March. I mean, I caught my 72-pound flathead in February, middle or end of February. So
that's a nice fish right there.
Yeah, you're not going to catch the numbers, and you're not going to catch as many right now. Which, I mean, we do have days. I have days that I'll find what I call the juveniles out there. A pocket of where there's a bunch of juveniles will just be stacked up, and you can just catch them. Tuesday, actually, we found a pocket like that, and it was in deep water, and we were pulling out 15 pounders, 15 to 20 pounders. We caught like 9 of them, just boom, boom, boom. And then we did catch one 30 pounder, but I mean, just boom, boom, boom. And if you can find them, on that river like that piled up. I say those are what I call the juveniles, the teenagers. And then, but yet you got to find those big fish. And to me, the reason I do a lot of running and gunning is trying to drop that bait right on top of that inactive fish's head. And if I'm moving a lot, I feel like I've got a better chance of dropping that bait right on top of their head, where they'll bite that. And we caught a flathead just Tuesday. Beautiful, beautiful flathead. I caught it in like 60 foot of water. And the reason we were fishing deep water, the reason we were fishing deep water that day is they were running 60,000 CFM. And I felt like, I told the guys, I said, let's go fish some deeper water. I said, I just feel like that deeper water, they're going to be in it more, just because I feel like they can get behind those rocks, and it's probably maybe a little warmer. The water temperature right now is about 47 degrees in the Tennessee River. And found them right off. I don't always do that, but bam, they were in those deep holes. I mean, we was fishing holes that was 115 foot deep. And the biggest thing is just move. You know, you can think you got everything figured out, and then all of a sudden they'll do something different on you. You know, Roddy Piper said one time, he said, just when they think they got all the answers figured out, I change the question. That's
change the questions.
Tennessee River for you for sure. Just when you think you got it figured out, they change on you. So, it just is what it is. So.
John Parker had asked a question a few comments back. He said,
some rookie got YouTube playing in the background. I'm just saying.
Not me.
I got to mute Brian over there until he gets it right. What was this question? John said, I got a question for a panel. What I got to do to catch a dag blasted fish? John, there's not enough knowledge in the world to help you catch it.
John,
first of all, John, we all love you. And, if you talk about white perch.
Wake me up, guys.
I tell you what, when you saw John, that last live, he had white perch as big as this screen. It was amazing. He needs to stop catfishing and go for white perch. He's just a white perch whisperer. He can catch some fish, but we love you, John. You just got to, stay with it. You've been with Haz on the Potomac. You had your chance. And you'll be back up there again. You'll probably get that chance up there again. You'll get the chance on the James again. I just want to say, though, that John's biggest fish so far on YouTube has came from the James with a 26-pounder that he caught at Hopewell. He caught at Hopewell on a live.
Is it still feedback?
Nah, you're
good. You're good, Brian Bo.
We can hear that stands that rides everybody's toe tail.
But Brian B, don't come up here. There's more James River fishermen up here than anything else. I'm just saying.
At least they bring another expert on that knows what they're doing instead of Stan. Stan catches fish.
Hi, Christopher.
Stan
What's up, BB?
Stan 3's coattail. I mean,
my man, BB, what you doing?
Hold on, boys, don't go without me. I got my rod and my.
Yeah, what's going on, Greg Burgess?
Oh, wait, Daryl,
I can sturgeon there.
Hey, Daryl.
Show your picture. Where's that picture, Stan? Show the picture.
Oh, look, boop. We got to mute the guys again. We got to mute them again. Boop, boop. Let's mute them again. Time out. What's going on, Greg Burgess? Watching from LA. Appreciate you popping up, man. We love when new subscribers, new people, hooks that come in and find the channel.
What's up, Greg?
Right now, we talking, we're supposed to be talking how to catch more fish in 2022.
Hey,
but
I just came in.
Some personal vendettas. Yeah, get
I listening, and I was listening. I'm not taking on no personal vendettas or nothing. All I'm gonna do is for 2022 to get on the big fish.
Try to
mark them. Go on to the waters that you know where they might be. Look, if you're not, I'm talking from a boat perspective because that's made majority of what I fish. I'm gonna mark them. If I can't mark them, I'm just gonna look for a structure and try them there. Deep water and the shallow water, especially in the summertime. Get up and feed, and they moving in this warm weather. They not sitting still like they do in the cold weather.
All right.
So I'm not
So
sitting here running off talking trash tonight. My lady is with me.
Barza, he ain't talking no smack tonight. Let's get into tactics. You know what you're using when the bite is tough. You know, me personally, I know when I get out there, I'm in the kayak and I'm going to, you know, my good spots and I'm marking fish, and the fish are just, they don't want to hit. They're not biting. You got your best baits. You know that everything is right. You should be on the fish. You switch it up and you start suspending. You start dragging baits. That's what I would do. I love dragging and I love suspending, suspend drifting to find fish, to find those active fish. Because sometimes anchoring up isn't the way to go. You know, that's why it's always good to have more tools in your repertoire. I know, like Chris, he's just like he uses his electronics, to his advantage, and he'll use his side scan, which I'll let him, talk more about that. But me personally, when the bite gets tough, like me and Brian, we were all in the tournament. It was the we were raising money for what was that? The Fish a Wish tournament, and I was anchored up fishing, and the bite was sucking for me. I was anchored up fishing for like the first 4 hours of the tournament. I only had like 3 fish to that point, and then like for the last 2 hours, I started suspend drifting, and that's when I started finding those active fish and getting on the numbers. Now, Chris, what is something that you're gonna do when you get into those tough bites, and it's hour 6 of an 8-hour tournament, and you have still yet to put a fish in the boat? What are you some tactics that you're gonna do to switch it up to try to get on some fish?
How I caught my sturgeon. Oh, wait a second. Sorry. No, I get on the and I'm an electronics guy. I start riding, and I start scanning, and I start looking for I start looking for bait, and then I start looking if there's bait, are there fish in there? And really the main thing is that I've got the confidence that certain things are going to work. And depending on the day, depending on the conditions, lots of times I don't even really think about it that much anymore. But there are just things that I know have worked in the past, places that have worked in the past, and that's where I'm going to go. I may go in the creek and fish maybe one of the deepest holes in the creek. I may pull up on a flat and fish the flat. It kind of depends, but really, on those tough days, I just start looking. And when I see what I want to see, I set up on it, and I don't give up. So if we're in the last 2 hours, I don't give up. If I feel like what I saw is going to produce fish, we're going to sit through it. And most of the time it works. When it doesn't work for people is, and I know Daryl was talking about running and gunning, and that's fine. It might work for some people. I see a lot of guys doing that, and generally when they're doing that, they're not catching fish. And I'm talking about on a tournament situation. I'm not making fun. I'm not picking. I'm just being honest. The last 2 hours of the tournament, I want to go ahead and settle into the best place where it's got the bait. It's going to be a travel corridor. It's going to be an area that's going to hold fish, and we're just going to go ahead and sit through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Chris is exactly right there. There's days we've both been on the river before, and he's checking in with me. How you doing? And at the end of the day, I said, oh, we didn't do too great. And he says, well, stop running around. And I finally set anchor and sit there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. Sometimes I set anchor and sleep all night, and that's when we started catching fish.
Yeah, they come through. The fish come through in waves.
Yeah.
But electronics, you'll see things that, and it's too hard to explain on a video. It's something that you just have to see. But when those are the things, and that's just the style that works for us. that it eventually it'll pay off. It might be a little slow, but go ahead, Daryl. What you got?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
yeah, we
you
can
hear me?
hear you.
Loud and clear.
I actually wanted to ask Chris some questions because when I didn't put that in there, but I do look at my graph a lot. But what I'd like to ask you is, do you find in the wintertime, if you find the fish on the graph, that you're more likely to catch them if you find on the graph than in the summertime? Like if I find them with me,
Yeah.
this Tennessee
In the
River,
wintertime, yeah, 100%.
yeah,
The ones that I
I
see in the
rely way
wintertime,
more on my graph in the
yeah.
wintertime than I do summertime
Mhm.
because I may find them in the summertime and they don't bite, but most
Well,
of the time, if I can find them in wintertime, I'm going to catch them.
a lot of
Mhm.
time the summertime fish are the summertime fish are on the move
Right.
a lot more. And so I will take in, we did a video. Here's a great video. Go back and watch Chris Souders and I. We sat on one spot for I think 5 hours, and we caught around. I think we had, don't quote me, but I think we had 15 fish over 30 pounds. We had 450s, 260s, and we were sitting in one spot. Now, Chris is not at all, he's a run and gun guy, but that time of year, we picked basically just picked a travel corridor, which happened to be on a drop off. And we were catching fish there all for straight for all those hours, and it was just consistent. But in the wintertime, I'm more. It's more important to me to set the boat up properly and make precision casts to catch those one or two fish that I see.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, and I'm all serious here now, but I'm pretty much self-taught fisherman. I taught myself like electronics and, besides watching YouTube, learned how to fish the Tennessee River. But that's one thing I wished I had somebody, and I can watch it on YouTube and it just still doesn't seem to show me as much as I'd like to see if I could get somebody on the boat that was really good at electronics. But I feel like that I could really improve how I fished if I could learn a lot more about electronics. That's the one thing I wished I knew a lot more. I mean, I really rely on a lot, especially the wintertime. I mean, to me, wintertime is real important. If I can see those fish usually and mark them, I can catch them. Summertime, not so much, but wintertime is really important to me on that. And I bet if I knew my electronics better, I could make it better in the summertime also. But that's my, if I ever wanted to learn more about that, it would be electronics. I think it's a lot
What you need
more
to do, we dedicated a year to learning our electronics, a year. So it hurt us in the tournament world, but we knew that we needed to have something that everybody else wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys were talking about, what their hummingbird was showing and their lawrence. And I realized that we were more in those days. We're talking about maybe 2017. We were more spot fishermen, going back to the place that produced fish last year, the week before, or whatever it was. And then some days they were hot and some days they were cold. Then we decided to put more emphasis into electronics, learning what we were seeing. And how we did that is we would see fish, and I've talked about that before, and I'd make one of my guys throw the net on. Let's see what it is. Okay, that's shad. Let's throw the net on that. I think it's a white perch. It's white perch. Throw the net on that. I think those are stripers. Whatever it was, that's what we did. We kept doing it over and over and over and over and over. We still do it. We still do it today. That hasn't changed.
Right.
But what it did is it opened the picture of what we're seeing so that it wasn't a foreign language anymore. It was more you. And that's why I say I can't explain like what I'm seeing, that I know that it's a big fish. I just can't explain it. It's just something that you can only just keep repeating and then finally understand it.
Right. I never try to, even when I do fishing videos, I'll talk about cinemagraph, but I never try to show anybody what I'm looking at because I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough to say,
Yeah.
hey, look here, here's the fish I'm seeing. Here's what I'm throwing on. You can see the fish right here because I did that one time. Somebody goes, "You're an idiot. That's a rock." And it's like, okay, but I caught 6 fish
Yeah.
right there off that rock. You know?
Yeah, I had
So,
a,
I mean,
I have a,
just so many people read so much different. And I really would like to find somebody that knew a lot about it to get on the boat and say, you know, even how to set everything, the settings. I mean, I'm guessing most.
you just
Got
have
an
to keep doing it.
unpopular-
Yeah.
What'd you
I've
say,
got an
Dan?
unpopular- I said I've got an unpopular opinion here. This whole thing is kind of taking a turn towards graphs, and you have to mark fish to catch them. And absolutely, that's going to speed up the day. And if you can mark them and catch them, then you're probably going to get on some big fish, or maybe even be able to pick and choose which fish you're catching. But I've caught a ton of fish where I was marking absolutely nothing beneath me, fishing straight down. A lot of times you're not going to mark this fish because they might be in a cave or buried in the mud, or don't think that because you don't have a $3,500 graph, you can't catch good fish. Like, you can still find them, even if you don't see them. There's sometimes good fish holding on to good structure that you
I
will
agree
not
with
mark.
you.
Yeah.
Yep. You are absolutely right. That there are plenty of times that you'll set up and in areas you don't see fish and you will catch big fish. That's happened many times. But
Can I ask everybody up here? When have you caught the most fish?
with Dan. And
Go ahead, Brian.
I agree with Dan and Has can tell you. When we were over there in our spot that we was at the last couple of Wednesdays, we have not marked fish. I just knew that was a good spot. They come up in there.
Spot
We
fishing.
didn't mark any fish.
That's when
We
you
went
get
to that
into
spot.
spot fishing.
I
But-
don't think Chris is saying that you won't do it that way. I think what Chris and
he's
myself
agreeing.
both are saying is
Right.
if you can
I've
find
been
it,
in- I've been
you're
into-
increasing your
I've been
odds
in-
so much better.
Can I
but
simplify
I've
it
been in
for
spots
everybody?
the way it's deep water. I get a little mark, and then don't get no more marks. And then I say, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here because this looks like a good setup. Off the ledge, nothing's here. Current is flowing. I can see it. I'm gonna sit here and see what it is.
Let me simplify this for everybody. If you've been out there, and Daryl, I see, Daryl and I have been playing. We've been having a great time with this. Daryl, much respect for you. Daryl and I, you saw us up here. We've been having a good time. We've been going back and forth with some things. That was kind of, we're having fun with this. But seriously, both of us want everybody to catch more fish. And I ask everybody up here, when have you caught more fish? If you're not confident in that spot, guess what? You're not going to catch fish there.
Yep.
If you're confident,
100% confidence.
bam, there's it. If you're confident you're going to drag shallows and catch fish, guess what? You're going to catch fish. If you're anchored up in deep water and you're confident that's where you're going to catch, you may stay there 2 days, but guess what? You're going to catch fish because that's where you're confident in. Bass fishing, if you're throwing a whopper plopper or a jig or a Texas rig, that's what you're confident in. Guarantee you're going to catch a bass on whatever you're confident in, because that's what you're going to do 90% of the time. However, if you get stuck in that, you may take 2 days to catch that bass on that Texas rig on the bottom of the whatever, when the conditions are saying you need to go up in the shallows. Same thing with catfish. If you're saying, like me, old school, I need to be in 70-foot holes or whatever with stinky bait in the deepest hole you can find, and it's a 70-degree day in February, and all the active catfish are feeding up shallow, well, guess what? I may need to stay there 2 days. I'll catch a fish deep during that condition because that's what I'm confident in, but it may take me 2 days. But, learn the conditions, learn what, when you need to move. What Chris was saying before is if you're confident in that, where you need to be, move to there. That's where you're going to catch the most fish. What Daryl was saying, like he moves and grooves, he's moving what he's doing is he's moving to the spot where Chris feels the most confident. And that's what he's moving to, where he thinks he's going to catch the best. So everybody up here is agreeing with the same thoughts, the same whatever. Wherever you feel the most confident that you're going to catch that fish, guess what? That's where you're going to catch that fish. And that,
and I can provide a real life example of that as well. I was in an 8-hour tournament. Our buddy Luther was out in the boat. He was cruising around trying to learn his electronics that day, and that's great. Absolutely great. Time was winding down, and I'd kind of figured out at that time of year, and it's shown true the past 3 summers, that I had these 3 spots, and if the fish aren't in either one of those 2, they're in the last one. And it's usually in the afternoon that they're in that spot after they'd run the flats and they kind of tucked down this one spot. And he had gone through, not marked anything, and he drove by me, said, don't bother going this way. You're not going to catch anything. I didn't mark anything. And he keeps scanning all the way down the river. And the next thing you know, he's 10 miles down river, and he's messaging me, you catch anything? I said, yeah, as soon as you drove off, I caught a 25-pound flathead and a 50-pound blue right there, because I know exactly where they are. They're tucked under a rock right along this ledge, and you're not going to mark them. It's not going to happen.
Hey, and you don't need live scan. You don't need whatever. Stan 3 has found a few spots in the river. So is Dan. So is a bunch of those old school fishermen, that they'll find that one. It doesn't need to be this huge monstrous thing that shows up. There's a bunch of spots in the James, and I'm sure in every other waters, where it's just like this trough that goes across the river. It's a few feet difference. That's all it needs. That's a current break. That's a difference of the water, the current, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You'll find those spots, and that's all it takes. It's just a simple, time on the water. Everybody up here has said time on the water. You look at Has, and I'm not putting you on the spot. 14 months ago, what spot are you going to go catfishing? What's your answer?
The tidal basin, Haynes Point.
Whatever. You're going to go cast bait out wherever you're at. Now, what day? Now, today, you got to go catch a catfish. How much more are you thinking about?
In
a year different.
Yeah, that's ultimately that's what I wanted to is there all the answers, everything up here is all 100% right, all 100% true. The more tools you have in your toolbox, the better you're going to be. Whether it's, if you're fishing from the bank, the time on the water is definitely going to be your number one friend when you're bank fishing, because you have to learn what spots are good, what spots are not good, and those time of years. There's times of the year where I can go to a bank spot and I can slay them, I can catch fish all day long. But in the wintertime, I go to that spot and I will never catch a fish. I can be out there for 3 days, 4 days, camped out, and it's not going to happen. And that's because you put the time on the water and you move. Don't be afraid to move as a bank fisherman. Don't pick one spot and say, I'm going to go to this spot and I'm going to fish this spot the whole day. Even in a tournament setting,
if they're not there, they're not going to come there.
You may be there 3 days before you catch. You'll catch a fish. It may take you 3 days. But
in my opinion, with bank fishing, if you're sitting there for a long period of time, I would say a long period of time, 6 hours, you don't really get nothing. In the wintertime, I wouldn't even give it that long.
6 hours way too long for me.
No, I'm saying you get some people that sit there and stay there, and they're just like, okay, something's going to come past or whatever the case. They're not going to move. That's too long of a time because they're not there. In the wintertime, they stack up. You got to find out where they're stacked up at.
Here's one thing I'd like to say about what y'all saying is true, very true. It's especially if you're fishing the same water over and over. But I'll say this: what Chris was saying a while ago, and the reason I want to learn so much too, is there's 2 things to me that is a must-have tool if you're you want to branch out. Avionics is one thing, and electronics is the other. You can sit, because here's the thing: if I go where you're fishing at, I don't know that certain rock that they hide under all the time. So that's great for all your homework. But if I'm going, like I fish the Tennessee River in Chattanooga, but if I want to go down to Nickajack and I don't know it, then I want to look at my avionics and I'm going to start looking at a graph and trying to find stuff because I don't know every nook and cranny of that. Or if I'm going up to Watts Bar, the thing of it is, if you stay in that, you don't have to have these electronics and stuff, and you go somewhere else, you're going to be very lost. And so that to me, what Chris is talking about, electronics and stuff, is very important. So if you're on your home waters, if you got confidence and you can look at a graph that just pretty much is one that shows depth, real good and stuff, you can get away with it a lot more than if you're trying to go different places. And I've basically the last year and a half have fished the same 30-mile river strip for a year and a half, but I'm getting bored with fishing the same spot. Just to be honest with you, I want to go fish some other spots. And you can rely on, that looks like a great place, and there's rock, it's a straight off bank and all that stuff. But not knowing, if you can look at the electronics and you can see those big rocks down there, or a sunken tree, or even the fish, to me, you're going to eliminate a lot of water to be able to find those fish. And I think that's a lot of what Chris was saying a while ago, because he fishes a lot of different waters where he doesn't know every nook and cranny of it.
Well, I guess the point I'm trying to get across with the statement I'll make with electronics, and you don't need the electronics, but we were talking about what we're going to do when it's tough bite. What it does, what the electronics does for you, is you might go to an area or a spot. Let's talk about a spot. You might go to a spot that was working for you before, and you'll still catch fish. But if you know what you're doing with electronics, you might realize that all you had to do was move over 100 feet. And now you're really in a target zone. That's the point I was trying to make. Not that you need them, but that they'll help you. That's a game changer. And we're just tournament guys, so that's the tools that make it more effective for us on the slow days. And it's making those small adjustments and being accurate with what you're doing is lots of times will make, or you'll see it all the time in tournaments. Like you'll have these big, you'll have people come in with a lot of weight, and then you'll have a lot of low weights, and that's just the difference.
It's the differences, the paying attention, to the differences. Like G Styles asking, for instance, your bite window. The bite window varies. You don't know how long it's lasting, but you will know when the bite window is closing down, because you'll get into a bite window where it's going to be active and you're catching, let's say you're catching 4 fish an hour, and then you go from catching 4 fish an hour to catching 1 fish in the next 2 hours. You're outside of that bite window now. Now it's time to pick up and move and go to another spot. Even bank fishing, you're casting your lines, and your left rod is getting all your fish. Don't have all your rods over to the right. Now it's time to concentrate and put more rods over to the left side. Same with the boat. You're fishing in the boat and you're noticing all my rods, off the front of the boat are getting hit. Well, let's reposition the boat and let's move up, 200 yards. So that way we're in a better strike zone. And that's going to make you, pay attention. Just don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm catching all these fish over here off this one rod, and just be, happy and consistent with that. Sometimes it's just repositioning to get you in a better position so that you will catch, more fish. There's a lot of different variables, and it's paid attention to the, to the small details. It will definitely help you catch, more fish for sure.
Absolutely.
Palmetto Cat says, how does one catch a catfish? Well, you're going to need bait and a hook and a line and a sinker. You're going to throw it in the water.
Hope for the best.
We're going to wrap this up in 30 seconds. We don't have to be here for 2 hours.
I know. Bait, hook, line, sinker, throw it in the water. You will catch your fish.
Yeah. And time on the water keeps popping up, and we don't just say.
The main thing is to make sure it's catfish in your water.
Yeah, when we keep saying time on the water, we don't mean just sit there for hours and hours and hours. It means go out there and pay attention. If you do that and you pay attention to what's worked, what's not worked, and start putting the pieces together, you'll start to learn stuff. It might take a couple of years, but you'll start to figure things out in patterns. And even with YouTube, that puts a lot of pressure on spots and areas that that might just change the way the patterns work, and that you'll have to adapt. And sometimes you have to adapt during the day. Sometimes you have to adapt season to season.
I used to
That's
keep a
time and
logbook.
knowledge.
Bait, heads,
Time and knowledge.
all that stuff.
I used to keep a logbook. I used to write in the time of the year, how big the fish was, what the tide was doing. And eventually I didn't have to look at it anymore. I used to go back and look at it, and then I just got to where I didn't look at it anymore.
Yeah, because you learn to know it, it just became knowledge. Knowledge of what parts of the river work at certain times and where it was. It's the same with me with certain spots. But I think I go. Has hasn't been down to the other end of the river with me. So it's like it's spots over there where you sit there, you gotta. That's when I would sit there and we gotta sit here and put across and trying to mark some fish. Because if I'm not really marking them, then I'm not gonna stay there. Well, matter of fact, Hayes, you was over there where me and Epic, where Epic was, where he lost the rod at on the other side. But
the bad part of the river.
But I marked that fish. I didn't mark that fish that I caught. I marked fish, and I paid them no attention. I said, you know what? I marked them fish. Turned the boat around a little bit, and then spun it around and said, I'm gonna sit here and just see what happened, because the bite was kind of slow. We caught maybe 13 fish at that point, but they were all small fish. And I said, I'm gonna sit here and see what happens on this leg. So they were so grouped up, you can't really mark that big fish. And that big fish didn't come off their leg. That big fish came from the other way, from the way it hit. But it could have been on the ledge. I don't know.
Yeah, fall in love with the.
When you found my hook.
Just fall in love with the passion of catfishing.
Yeah.
Every time you go, try something new. Every time you go, learn something. And eventually, you'll start putting the little puzzle together that works for you. Do things that work for you, not what works for me or for anybody else there. Do things that work for you.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to do what works for you. You got to go out there, put the time in. You will learn. We all say this like, it's gonna happen over time, but then it's gonna click. At one point in time, it's gonna come apart, gonna click in your head, and you're just like, okay, I got to figure it out.
I have respect for everybody up here. Chris has been more years experience in the James than there's probably more people that Chris doesn't even know that listen to him that fish the James than that are people out there. In the past year, I've told you this many times. I'm impressed with how much you've picked up. When I was like Team Has, like it was just you. It wasn't what you knew about fishing. It was your passion for catching that next fish. Like when I first talked to you, you had no clue about catfish. I'm just saying, I loved you. I loved you.
You're right.
But you had no idea about catfish.
I went and jumping over
out there.
And winning it.
It was it was the passion, Stan. It was the passion. I know we're kind of derailed a little bit, but it was the passion. And if you remember, you guys were doing a live, and I was watching it, which I don't have TV, and I don't hardly watch YouTube.
Yes.
And I was like, those guys have got this passion. I got to connect with them.
Yes.
And that's the thing. You got to have people that have the passion for this will grow quickly, or more quickly than anybody else. And I think that's what happened with Has and some of your crew. That you guys just had that
Chris,
passion.
When you've got you talk about that, and I've met Big John. He fishes James over here. Oh my Lord! And when you talk to him, you got to talk to him for 30 seconds, and you're like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." I mean, I don't care who you are. Big John is Big John, and when you did that, what you did last year during the virtual CatCon with Big John being kind of like that spokesperson, for Catfish Clothing, and then meeting him several times. He is just like you talk about that. It's passion. When you spell catfish you spell Catfish with a K, that you're part of the family. That's part of the passion. That's part of the whatever. Daryl and I have been up here joking around about this stuff. That's passion. It was, we were kind of joking around about all this kind of stuff. It's passion. And for those people that are out there, if you have that passion, guess what? If your PB is 5 pounds right now, I don't care where you are, you're going to go to where you need to catch that 10 pounder, that 20 pounder. If you have that,
drive you.
if you have that catfish, if you have that catfish passion, you're going to go to where you need to catch 20, 30s. Nina and Freddie came up here, both of them at the James River, Potomac, Tennessee, where, we're all up here. We all talk about this. You're going to go to where you need to go to catch that. And even if it's not, even if you can't go to those rivers, if the 20 pounder or the 15 pounder is the biggest fish in those waters, if you've got that passion, you're going to catch that 15 pounder because that's the passion that you have. Like I said, Darren and I were up here joking before, and we're back and forth against each other. But big shout out to him. He's learned a lot in a short time. We haven't been fishing for big catfish for that long. We lived upstate New York, so our big thing was trout and pike, and Dan and I are gonna, and Stan 3, our big thing now, we're gonna try to go out for some muskie and different things. But wherever I'm at, I want the biggest fish that are in that water. And around here, the James River, that's what it is. It's blue catfish. And when you start talking about catfish, I mean, it's just, you get that passion. And I'm sorry.
That right there is something.
45 minutes to an hour and 45 minutes to get up to the Tennessee River, because when you get hooked for that stuff and those big fish, and I do it once a week. I mean, it's one way, an hour and 45 minutes one way. But man, if you can ever go find one of those, and I caught, they're just not that big where I live here in North Georgia. They're just not that big. And once I started catching those up there, it's like, you're hooked. You're hooked, and it's like it's adrenaline. It's like a drug. You never know when the next big bite's gonna be. That I'm gonna catch that 72-pound flathead again. I mean, the funny thing when I caught,
and hey, I just saw No Real Loss. She said it's not the size of the fish, and I'll say that many times. It's not the size of the fish; it's the size of the excitement that it brings you. However, keep trying. And No Real Loss Bex, I told you many times. We've spoke on Facebook Messenger. I told her, you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing the right thing. You are gonna and bam. I mean, one of the best bank fishing days I've ever seen, and that's Stand 3, that's whatever. We bank fish a lot.
Might be the best
in the Potomac River. You seen anybody have a better day than Bex with a 50 and a 60-pound fish, blue cat from the bank? That's passion. That's what that is.
Yeah. What is Brian saying? Brian was saying something. What'd you say, Brian?
I was saying, it's like, when it comes to passion, like, that is, y'all know that. That's my passion. That's what I do. And to continue to drive to do that, Has knows this. I've said a few things to him, and not really went into detail or whatever in it or on it. But like, nobody supports me as far as like my mother, when I get to talk about catfish around my family, they look at me like I'm retarded. My lady tired of hearing about it. Man, so and they just like, oh, that's all you do. That's all you think about. But there's a passion and a drive. And they know when I'm into something, it's 10 toes down, and I'm going in, and I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to perfect it, and I'm going to be the best that I can in it.
Well, that's...
And they like, well, we don't want to hear it no more. We're tired of hearing it. I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Hey,
see, they don't have anything that drives them, and that's the thing.
Yeah, because they don't
understand. When I get to the water, when I get down on that river, after 20 years, I feel like I'm alive again.
Yeah,
and that's because, and I don't. You can't explain it. I don't know what it is. But
Chris,
that's
You see the excitement.
I know what it
Chris,
is.
when you
It's
say, I mean, Epic said this to me. He's like, when I saw you on for those that don't know, everybody knows, I'm sure everybody out there that knows me, I've got a bunch of physical issues. Yeah, I'm in pain every day and blah, blah, blah. But the first Iron Cat, I'm out there 40 hours. I'm fighting people on the bank. I'm fighting my conditions. I'm trying to catch fish. I'm doing whatever. And, you know, Chris, like, drove how many miles upstream just to, like, throw us some bait and stuff.
Bring some bait.
And
40
that's
miles.
I
passion.
remember that.
That's passion
Yeah.
for catfish.
I went it was 40 miles I came to bring you bait.
Yeah, and
in the
by-
boat.
And that's when we first
with my
in the
boat.
Cadillac.
That was by water, not by car.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the boat. But
and that's when we first met, and I've been team catfish ever since. But that's you know,
Really?
if you want to catch you want to catch bigger fish, that's it. That's the secret right there. And you ask anybody that's caught them, and every single person up here, every single person that you see, you talk to Epic. What does Epic say? He's like, I've spent 4 days with no connection to nobody to catch this.
Yeah.
Boom, however many pounds. I was in the
And
middle of
that's what-
nowhere for 5 straight days to catch this fish.
I didn't
Well,
know
That's
that,
what's
Stan.
going to separate you from you know, from the next guy, you know, from the next angler is your passion. Like, it starts off as a passion, you know, that fire burning inside of you, that hunger, you know, that drive, that hustle, and then, you know, you spend that time out there, you do it on the water, not only as a fisherman, but a lot of people in here are also YouTubers as well. And you turn that passion into, you know, your channel, and you turn that passion into creating content and putting it into your live streams, and that enthusiasm and that entertainment into your videos. And it's all going to show when it's all going to pay off. Like, that's what drives me more than anything, is my passion and my hunger to be better. And when I get out there and I'm headed to the river, you never know what type of day you're gonna have. You have no idea. And it's always that thrill of the unknown. Like, I'm excited, I'm ready to go out there, I'm ready to partake in this, I'm ready for the next adventure. And, you know, it gets me drive. It doesn't matter if I did it, you know, 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. I'm still excited the 6th day. I will still be excited to go out there on the river.
And what we're saying is, if that's a 15-pound fish in your waters, that's your passion. That's the same thing. If it's a 10-pound fish, like I watched an Arizona catfishing today. His big fish that day was 7-pound channel cat. That's the biggest fish in his area. Like, his passion was like you saw it. That's what we're talking about. Like, just go out there. You drive the passion. That'll teach you what you need to know. That'll make you learn the next thing. And that's, everybody up here has that same exact.
You know what makes, this is the funny thing, and this is where it's the catfishing. That's why I love how this catfishing thing has become our family. None of us are we're not using special lures. We're all using the same thing across the whole country. Everybody's using the same. There's not a lure that catches more fish. We're doing it the same way.
One thing,
Bex is 100% right on that one. She knows. Like, I get into the Potomac River group chat and I'm like, "Where's your video at? Why aren't you guys posting up content? Keep it coming." I would be like, "What are you guys doing?" I'll be on them, man. They Brian too.
Hey.
Brian knows. I'll be drilling them. Like, "Yo, Stan, I pushed them all. Like, we all."
Yeah, hey, y'all have been Stand 3. Like, you know how many more? You know how bigger our channel would be this year if Stand 3 just posted videos or pictures of every what do we call it, citation fish here in Virginia? We'd be, you know, way up there. He caught so many more monster citation fish in Virginia that nobody knew about. He was just out there fishing because guess what? That was his passion. It wasn't YouTube. It wasn't showing anybody. His internal passion was he needed to prove that he could catch these fish to himself. He showed nobody but me. And I'm like, damn it, son. You forget we're YouTube now. You got to show these pictures to everybody. And
can I say one more thing? And I've got to get out of here pretty quick.
Yeah.
One thing I would say to people that watch the YouTube, and you see these guys catch, and a lot of guys, and this may not be popular, a lot of guys will show a video and only show these monster fish, and you think, oh God, all they do is catch monster fish. What you don't see out there, guys, is we'll go through a lot of small fish before you'll catch a big fish. So
I'm the
whenever they're
big
showing those
master.
big fish, they're not always catching big fish. I mean, they're you may throw back 6 or 8 fish, and then they catch it. You know, and then they may go 5 trips before they catch a monster fish and put that one on. It's I say it's maybe unpopular. It's not that way. You're going to catch a lot of in between fish, small fish, and everything before you catch those big fish. So don't get get discouraged. Like they catch a big fish every time they come on. You don't. You catch a lot of other fish. I say I've caught a lot of big fish in 1 year, but I've won a lot of times, and there's been plenty of times the biggest fish I caught that day, and this is the Tennessee River, and you're going to go, well, that's right, was 20 pounds. When that's really on Tennessee River, I consider a nice trophy fish over 30 pounds. But I've caught a lot of days where I've just caught some 10 or 15 pounds. So don't get discouraged if you're not catching a big fish every time and you're going, well, what are those guys doing different? Well, they're probably just going more or to a place that's got bigger fish too. A trophy is what you see in it.
You still had a fun day, right?
Yes.
Oh,
I've always said, I call my channel
You
Trophy
went fishing and caught some fish.
but that trophy is what it is to you, not everybody else. If it's a trophy to you, brother, it's a trophy.
I agree with you, Daryl. You know, like I said, we were doing a lot of joking back and forth, and much love to you. I appreciate you coming up here and playing with me. You know, I've had this. I've been a 50-year-old old school wrestling fan, and Daryl came up here. I was the baby face. He came up here playing the heel. We had a blast. I mean, that was kind of he did that for me. So I appreciate you, Daryl.
No problem.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
If Daryl was up here earlier, I'd have came up. I had my hater blockers on earlier.
Hey,
man, we were Hulk Hogan and Iron Sheik going up here. I mean, that was exactly right. Hey, and if you've seen any of my videos lately, that damn one of the twins done took my hater blockers. One of my 3-year-old grandsons now done took my hater blockers. I don't have them, but Daryl, thank you so much for that. I mean, was for me to do that on live. That was I hope I did. I hope I lived up. You know, how would I do for professional wrestling? That wasn't bad, right?
You did good. A lot of people don't know, but I ran a professional wrestling business for several years. So
I heard about it.
He knows that. He wanted to do some stuff, so we did. But yeah, you did good. You should have been it was almost a little bit heel. You should have been a little more baby. Should have let me.
I tried. It's fishing, man. You got to say I'm catching the biggest fish. I don't care who else catching what.
It would have been nice if you would have let the rest of us know that was going on.
I know, right? I had to time him out on the panel. I was like,
hey, that's when it's real, Daryl. We did perfect.
Yeah, a text message or anything would be appreciated.
All right, guys, thanks for letting me come on.
All right, Daryl. Somebody drop Trophy Stick Outdoors.
If you're learning, you're catching fish. So I'll never quit.
Daryl is on that push to 1K just like me. Me and him pretty much right there.
Daryl's channel link.
That's right.
All right, can you guys please drop Daryl's channel link and everybody else's channel link up here? Brian is on his way to 1K. We also have somebody else. I don't know if he's still in here. John Euler too. Drop John Euler's channel link too as well.
John Euler this morning when we were chatting, he needed 22 subs to get the 1K.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I was like, yeah. So if you're on Hookset, the John Euler or Brian B, please Hookset them. They're the next up to get to 1K. So let's go ahead and get them there. Circle Hooks Clint is in the house.
Oh, Rush, that's the Ultimate Warrior.
What's going on? But yeah, we've been rocking and rolling for almost 2 hours, guys, and I mean we've covered a lot. This, if you didn't know, this could definitely get you started. If there's one thing you can take away from this all over anything is just get out there and go fishing. You can't catch it from the house. You can't catch it from the couch unless you're John Euler. He did catch it from the couch. But
wait. You can only catch it from the couch if you take
the couch to the bank.
Damn couch 15 miles from your house throw it in the back of the truck, bring it 15 miles down the road to the river, drag that thing 300 feet down the bank out to the river, and sit in it, 10 feet from the bank, and, fish it from the. That's the only way you can catch catfish from your couch. John Euler, big shout out to him. He proved that you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely did. I want to say thank you guys for coming up here and spreading your knowledge to the community. Hopefully, you guys get some takeaways from this, and we get you on catching more fish from 2022. I know that was my goal in 2021, and I went from I'll say 50 blues in 2020 to over 700 blues in 2021. So I definitely put in a lot of work and put a lot of time on the water to catch those fish. And it's possible anybody. Brian, what the fish that you talking about over there, buddy? I just can't wait to get back out of the kayak and I'm gonna whoop your butt.
Whenever I see the circle thing up there, I always think of
Brian's about to snooze.
Nah, I just gave it out. I just gave it out. But hey, bro, I put him on some good spots.
I told him, I said, you was out on a date. See, we going to CatCon and we're leaving Wednesday. We're leaving a day earlier, so Brian had to go get some brownie points by taking the girl out the day. So he can get out of the house.
Yeah, I had to go out with Mama. Mama said, what?
Appreciate my scratch.
5 days?
Yeah, you needed some brownie points, so we had to put in some work.
Hey, Brian, before we leave, I need to make sure I see that signed hall pass.
Oh, oh yeah.
Baby, tell him it's okay.
Oh,
she might be in
right. Well, let's go ahead and one by one go around and any closing arguments, anything you want to add. Chris, you can go ahead and start off with anything you want to add, anything you want to wrap up, anything you want to say. Say goodbye to the people.
Thanks for coming and watching. You guys just have a good time doing your fishing. Find that passion, and I promise it'll just be a lifetime enjoyment that thing that you'll enjoy.
Absolutely. Dan, what you got?
It was fun getting up here and chatting with anybody. If anybody's planning on coming to visit the James River, we did pretty much the same show, but specific to the James River. So definitely check that out and reach out to us if you need direction to get to it. But if it'll help you.
Wait, Dan, where can they find that?
We did a live show on my channel, and it'll help ease the learning curve on the James River.
There you go. You check out Green Machine Outdoors. Somebody drop that link for him, please. If anybody out there is not down with Dan Green Machine, he's taught me so much. I got no problem saying that. I've been fishing 5 decades, and Dan has taught me a whole bunch. Stand 3, as much as I taught him, he's taught me a bunch more back with fishing this James River. So please go check out Green Machine Outdoors. Awesome channel. You'll see some 50-pounders, multiples caught at the same time. So just saying.
Well, that does remind me of something. I don't think I told you this yet, Stan, but we were launching for Wednesday on the water, and we saw Big John in the parking lot, and a guy who knows so much about the river was asking us questions about how he can learn how to drag better. So even a guy with such experience, he's still out there trying to learn more because he took a client out and put him on his best fish ever, but it wasn't big enough for his standards, so he wanted more tactics. Look at
Passion.
That's very, very, very important right there. Never think you know everything. You can always learn something, from anybody and everybody. Always keep your mind open. Always forever learn and evolve. It doesn't matter. Anybody can teach you something. You never know. Be surprised.
Y'all have seen Stan 3 been dropping those videos with my new grandsons, my 2 3-year-old grandsons, the twins out there, about to turn 4 on March 5th. But I taught them how to hold the catfish. For me, that's like I'm speechless. This has been me for 40 whatever years, and then I had some issues come up, and I was not me. But catfish, this passion brought me back to me And that's what it takes. Like if you want to catch, everybody asks me what's the secret to catching bigger fish. Muskrat says you got to target bigger fish. Well, that's it. But you got to have the passion for it. And I don't care if 10-pounder is your fish, that's the passion. Go catch it. If it's a 1.5 pound trout, if it's a 8-ounce bluegill, if it's a 12-inch crappie, bam, that's your passion. Be excited about it. Have fun. Teach the younger ones how to do it. Take a kid fishing. And that is it. Like, that's how you learn. That's how you move this on.
Absolutely.
And obviously, I'm emotional about it, but that's just me. That's what we do.
Is that your forged hall pass right there?
He signed his own hall pass.
How you gonna forge your own hall pass?
And if you haven't decided about coming to the Catfish to CatCon, you think that this show was kind of like emotion and passion was out there? Woo! Wait to CatCon. That's just.
I think
If you haven't decided about going, you come check out Catfish Clothing. You come check out all the other vendors that are going to be there. All of us YouTubers, everybody you see here, guess what? You'll meet us all at CatCon. So,
and
all the
Golden Whisker Awards. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you come check us out, but check out all the other guys. I know all the other owners. They're all cool.
Yeah.
We all hang out. We all talk. Everybody is super cool. But check everybody out. Give them all love.
Yeah.
I thought you were
absolutely
cool.
100%.
I ain't got that
hat. And I just want to say, the longest closeout, Golden Whiskers for the longest closeout goes to this guy right here, Tuesday. His closing out arguments, closing out statements, they're going to take 3 more hours. You can have a whole nother 3-hour show.
Oh, man. Should have heard him try and make his
Hey, Brian, what you got to add to it?
Hey,
why you saying folks out?
More time, I'm not going to do a thing. More time on the water. Get out there, explore the waters. Don't be scared to try different things like they were saying earlier. Because that's how I found a lot of different spots that I lock on or whatever the case may be. And just get on the water. Get on the water.
Get on the water. I don't know why Brian sounds like he's under the water, but
it could be my earbud.
Get on the water or get under the water like Brian is right now. But man, I appreciate you guys. God bless everybody out there, and most importantly, always have fun. Always have fun. No matter if you catch a fish or not, have fun out there. Because at the end of the day, any day out there fishing is better than being in the office. So just go out there, have a good time, and God bless. We'll see you guys next time or at CatCon in a couple days. Peace out.
Check out Dan on Underwater Wednesday.